They thought she was just another new face in town. But every smile she gave, every errand she ran, every step she took was part of a much bigger plan. They followed her, watched her, tried to intimidate her. But they didn't realize she was watching them back, and she wasn't here by accident. She was here to bring them all down. The moving truck pulled up just past 7 a.m., a faded "Welcome to Rosefield" sign waved in the wind as a single mom and her daughter stepped out of a rust-colored
SUV.
The woman, Emma Carter, wore sunglasses, jeans, and a simple hoodie. Nothing flashy, nothing suspicious. Just a mother looking for a fresh start. At least, that's what they thought. Her daughter, Lily, bounced around the yard excitedly, while Emma nodded politely at the neighbors, who peered through blinds and half-closed screen doors. Rosefield was the kind of town where new faces didn't go unnoticed, especially not when they moved into the old Holloway house, abandoned for years and whispered about ever since a retired detective vanished from. Their Deputy Alan Griggs was the first to stop by, offering a smile that never reached his eyes. He asked questions he had no business asking. Where was she from? Why Rosefield? Did she have family nearby? Emma answered with a calm smile, just looking for somewhere quiet, somewhere safe. Griggs left, but didn't stop watching. Neither did the men sitting at the end of the block in a black pickup truck with no license plate on the front. Emma saw them. She even saw the camera flash from the second-story window of the house across the street, but she didn't react. Not yet. That night, while Lily slept peacefully upstairs, Emma was in the basement, opening a steel suitcase buried in drywall. Inside, files, photos, a tablet with surveillance data. Every face she'd seen today, already cataloged. The town thought it was watching her, but she had been watching the town long before she ever arrived. Emma didn't like routines, but she knew they made people feel safe, predictable. And that's exactly what she needed the dirty cops in Rosefield to feel. It was day 3, and she was already playing her part well. Wearing a faded denim jacket, she pushed her cart slowly through the aisles of Riley's Market, exchanging soft smiles with the locals. Lily walked beside her, humming to herself and occasionally reaching for cereal boxes shaped like dinosaurs. Emma paused near the canned goods, not for the soup, but for the security mirror above her. She saw him again, a man pretending to inspect the potato display while glancing at her every 5 seconds. Same man from the black pickup. She turned, casually picking up a can of tomato soup, and quietly whispered into her sleeve cuff, "Subject Alpha at 4 o'clock. Still tracking?" Her voice was barely audible. The mic was embedded in a thread, her contact listening from a parked RV 2 miles out. A woman behind her coughed. Emma turned to see an older lady fidgeting with a shopping cart wheel. That wasn't what caught Emma's attention. It was the sheriff's deputy badge barely hidden under the jacket sleeve. Another one. They were everywhere. Emma calmly walked past them both and made her way to the checkout lane. But before she reached it, she saw something odd. A clerk arguing with a teen boy outside. The boy looked nervous. Too nervous. He wasn't. Part of the team, Emma left her cart and stepped outside. The kid looked like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes darted around like a trapped animal. "You dropped this," he whispered as she approached, sliding a folded napkin into her hand. Before bolting off into the alley, Emma unfolded the napkin when she got back in the car. 4 words were scrawled, in shaky handwriting. Emma waited until Lily was asleep before she moved. The napkin had been folded twice, and in the crease she found a faint smear, like it had been wiped across dusty paper. Someone had touched something they shouldn't have, and then handed her the warning. She scanned the napkin, under a portable UV light from her suitcase. The second message glowed in blue. Locker 112, Bus Depot, midnight. By 11:47 p.m., she was parked 2 blocks away from the Rosefield Bus Depot, a weathered, dimly lit structure that hadn't seen heavy traffic in years. The whole place felt like a forgotten pocket of the town. Perfect for secrets. Emma walked briskly, her hair tucked into a hoodie, eyes scanning every shadow. Her Glock 43 stayed holstered under her jacket. Just in case, inside the depot smelled like old coffee and disinfectant. The fluorescent lights buzzed. Locker 112 was at the far end, slightly rusted, paint peeling. She slid in the small lockpick tool from her belt loop, 3 clicks, and the door creaked open. Inside, a single manila envelope. She tucked it into her coat and left immediately, back home. Emma placed the envelope on the basement table and peeled it open. Photos spilled out, grainy surveillance shots, timestamps, case files, and a name that made her freeze. Deputy Alan Griggs, Chief Lowell James, case hash. Blackvine. Status. Suppressed. Emma flipped through the documents. A brutal case of police abuse buried years ago involving a teenage girl. Hush money and a suspect who disappeared after being in custody. This wasn't just corruption. This was a system built on fear, cover-ups, and silence. And now, someone wanted it all exposed. Emma smiled grimly. The town thought they were watching her. They had no idea how far she was willing to go. 2 days had passed since Emma found the file. She didn't rush, she never did. Patience was what kept her alive. But the closer she got to the truth, the more aggressive the town became. That morning, she found tire marks in her driveway, deep, fresh. Someone had parked there for hours. Her mailbox was left open, a silent message. "We know where you are." Lily was still asleep upstairs. Emma stood by the window, coffee in hand, watching the street. Across the road, a utility van sat idling. Number. Logos. Tinted windows, no. She opened her laptop and tapped into the feed. 4 discrete cameras hidden around the property were streaming to her secure dashboard. The van had been there since 4:17 a.m. They were getting sloppy. Or desperate. Later that day, she received a visitor, Sheriff James Lowell himself. He stepped onto her porch with an award-winning grin, wearing a badge polished to a shine. "Thought I'd come welcome you properly," he said, Emma forced. A smile that's kind. "Want some coffee?" "Actually," he said, "I wanted to ask you about something. Heard you were asking around about the Holloway house. You're not the guy who went missing there?" "I like local stories," she replied smoothly. "Good material." He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Well, just be careful what you dig up, some stories. They're better left buried." Emma knew then, the sheriff wasn't just dirty, he was scared. That night, she made a call on a secure line. "This is Raven. Confirm possession of files and subject list. Primary target made contact. Phase 2 authorized." Across town, the sheriff met with Deputy Griggs behind the station. "She's not who she says she is," he muttered. Griggs nodded grimly. "I'll take care of it." It was quiet. Too quiet. Emma knew the signs. She had planned for them. But nothing ever prepares you for the moment when things go live. At 2:03 a.m., her basement tripwire went off, a faint vibration barely noticeable to the average person. But to Emma, it was the alarm bell she'd been waiting for. She grabbed her Glock and slid silently out of bed. Lily was asleep in the next room, headphones on, lullaby music playing. Emma had drilled for this moment a dozen times. She tapped. Her watch, the lights in the hallway dimmed, and the back porch light cut out. Shadows returned to the house. Downstairs. The basement door creaked. 2 silhouettes moved with military precision, not burglars. Professionals. Emma moved like water, gliding through the hallway until she reached the basement door. She held her breath as the taller figure passed under the weak glow of the boiler's red light. Then silence broke. A crash of metal. Someone kicked over her file cabinet, looking for the envelope. Wrong move? She fired 1 round into the drywall next. To the figure's head, "Drop it." The second figure turned to slow. Emma flipped a switch, and the floor lights strobed into full brightness, momentarily blinding them. They froze. Black tactical gear. No department insignias, earpieces. Federal agents don't enter homes without a warrant, she said coldly. And dirty cops don't get to walk away from this one. The first man lunged. Emma fired. A shot to the leg dropped him. The second fled through the back exit. Emma didn't chase. Instead, she dragged the injured one into her kitchen and zip-tied him to a radiator. Then she removed his mask. It wasn't a stranger, it was Deputy Griggs. She stared at his bloodied face. "Tell your sheriff, I'm not the one being hunted." She dialed her contact. "This is Raven. Confirm direct contact with target. One hostile down. I'm going loud. Prepare extraction." The sun rose, blood-orange over Rosefield. The quiet streets looked just as they always had. Kids waiting for school buses, old men sipping coffee on porches. But something had shifted. Sheriff James Lowell wasn't in his office. He was running at 5:11 a.m. Unmarked black SUVs swarmed the police station. Agents in tactical gear fanned out like wolves. Swift, silent, exact. It warrants. Names, audio, video. Everything. Emma stood across the street in a crisp, black suit, badge now clipped visibly to her belt. The town watched as the woman they thought was just a tired single mom ordered the arrest of half the precinct. Griggs was already in custody. His signed confession scanned and uploaded. As Chief Lowell tried to flee through a service tunnel beneath the station, was tackled by agents. Blood on his collar, dirt on his hands, and fear in his eyes. Emma walked up slowly. "Sheriff Lowell," she said calmly. "James, you've buried 3 investigations, covered for a violent ring of officers. You silenced victims. But today, you don't get to decide who walks away," he sneered, broken. "You think anyone cares about this town?" Emma leaned in. "But I do." Click. Handcuffs closed around his wrists. That afternoon, Emma stood outside the Holloway house.
Media.
Vans parked along the curb now. Microphones aimed at her. Reporters shouted questions. "Agent Carter, why this town?" She looked at the cameras, because Rosefield wasn't forgotten. It was ignored. And now, it's not. Behind her, Lily played on the front porch with a puppy, a gift from one of the freed whistleblowers. Justice wasn't clean. It never was. But today, it had a face. A mother. An agent. A woman who let them follow her. It's long enough to make them expose themselves.